Today's teaching is about the crucified Passover lamb. We know how Exodus instructs about taking the lamb into your house on Nisan 10. And on preparation day, as stated in the New Testament, it is the date of Nisan 14. This is the day that the lambs were slaughtered, and this is the day that Yeshua Jesus went to the execution stake, the cross. We know about the slaughter of the Passover lambs, but have you thought about how the lambs were prepared, how they were roasted, and to be eaten at the Passover Seder, which was on Nisan 15? This was a high holy day, and that's why they needed to get Yeshua Jesus off of the cross, because at sundown, as the Bible states, begins the new day. Nisan 14, preparation day, would be over. At sunset, Nisan 15, a Sabbath, a high holy day, the first day of unleavened bread, would begin. We're told in the Bible that the lambs were not to be boiled, but roasted, and no bones were to be broken. The inside organs were to be inspected to make sure that there were no diseases. We have historical evidence, and it is recorded that the Passover lambs were roasted and they were dressed on pomegranate branches. The pomegranate branches were in the form of a cross. One pomegranate branch would be inserted into the lamb, and some would bring it up out of its mouth, and some would bring the pomegranate branch up through the slit in the throat. Another branch ran across the back, the legs of the lamb, and were attached to it. So it had appeared as the lamb had been crucified. There were many different ways to crucify a lamb, and lambs in Jerusalem were offered this way, resembling a crucifixion. The pole across the back would rest on the inside of a special built oven. One of the things we often think about is that the Passover lambs were roasted on a spit, but in actuality, they were roasted standing up. And with the crossbeam of the pomegranate branch ran through the body, or the crossbeam ran across the back, and the beam up through the body, the lamb was standing up inside of a special built oven. Its head would droop on its chest as if it had given up its life. The crossbeam across its back would rest on special built positions inside the oven to keep the lamb standing up. If the lamb was roasted on metal skewers, that would be seen as being grilled. Since the lambs were not supposed to be boiled, if they were roasted on oak or other type of branches, they would secrete water. The pomegranate branch did not secrete water, and this would satisfy that the lambs were roasted inside the oven. We see a crown was woven around the head of the lamb as its entrails were placed around its head, much like a crown. Apparently, this practice of roasting the lamb prefigured Jesus and his crucifixion. It is often thought in the church that the crown of thorns was meant to mock Jesus, but did it really? The crown of thorns upon the head of Jesus was a picture of the entire world's sins being placed upon his head. It was a reminder to the Jewish people and to us about the binding of Isaac and how Abraham told his son Isaac that God himself would provide the lamb. But in actuality, God provided a ram in Genesis 22. It was in the fullness of time that Yeshua Jesus took the crown of thorns upon his head. The Jewish people would have understood, or could have understood, that this was the lamb that was offered up on the Mount Moriah range, where Abraham was to offer up his son Isaac. Jesus, the Passover lamb, with a crown of thorns around his head. The Passover lambs are the crucified Passover lambs that looked as if they were crucified on the pomegranate branches, had its entrails woven around its head as if wearing a crown. This is known as the crowned sacrifice in Jewish history. Could the picture of Yeshua, Jesus, with the crown of thorns and on the cross be a visual to many of the Jews? The crucifixion or crucified lamb with a crown of thorns or his entrails around his head. And when John said, "Hine, behold the lamb with a crown on his head," the crucified lamb, Yeshua Jesus. God gives very many visuals if we would cross the bridge back into the time, culture, content, and context of which it was written. Yeshua Jesus, the crucified Passover lamb on Nisan 14. A picture of the roasting of the lamb on a cross with its entrails wrapped around its head like a crown. I hope this will give you a little more information as to the Old Testament, the New Testament, and also Jewish culture, the content, and the time in which Yeshua Jesus lived, and the Bible and the Passover were kept.